Cottage listings are up nearly 40% and prices are down 25%. And over half of owners say that they cannot afford to keep their cottages. Now, this does not sound like a slowdown. It sounds like a total cottage market collapse. Hi everyone, my name is Raluca Mackenzie and thanks for joining me today on this video about the struggling cottage country real estate market. In Muskoka, months of inventory jumped from 10.2 in Q1 of 2024 to 21.3 in Q1 of 2025. And according to CTV, 57% of Canadian cottage owners now say they simply cannot afford to keep their cottages. We're not talking about luxury vacation homes here. This is hitting just regular Canadians, families, retirees, young couples who fled the city during COVID thinking they'd struck gold. And now they're completely underwater, literally. Owners are dealing with rising insurance costs, tripled HELOC payments, and properties they cannot rent, cannot sell, and cannot afford to keep. One of the major implications is that they borrowed against their main homes to buy these cottages. So when the second home starts becoming unaffordable, their primary home's on the line as well. This is how a soft market turns into a full-blown crisis. If this is what's happening to people with assets, options, and whom had the ability to make this sort of investment, what is next for those who can't afford just their primary residence? During the pandemic, there was this gold rush out of the cities. Everyone was desperate for space, peace, nature, that Canadian dream of a dock, a fire pit, and Zoom meetings with a lake view. Cottages were going for hundreds of thousands over asking, most without inspections or even actual houses on the lot. It was absolutely wild. But now it's a financial disaster. Over 100,000 recreational properties were sold in 2020 and 2021 alone. And many of those purchases were based on emotion and a ton of cheap borrowed money. Now, fast forward to 2025, and we're looking at a cottage debt hangover across the province. Canadian households owe over 170 billion in HELOC debt. A huge portion of that is tied to secondary real estate. That means when people walk away from their cottages, they're not just losing a weekend property. They're risking foreclosure on their main home. And this is not just the mortgage anymore. Its insurance premiums in cottage areas have jumped 15 to 25% since 2022, according to the Insurance Bureau of Canada. Property taxes are climbing everywhere. A lot of areas are seeing increases up to 10%, especially in smaller towns trying to cover infrastructure shortfalls. Fuel and hydro costs have also surged. A lot of these cottages rely on propane, and prices jumped nearly 30% between 2021 and 2024. And let's not forget just general maintenance costs, which are up due to regular inflation and an aging infrastructure. It's a long and never-ending list of increased costs that a lot have not budgeted for. Say you want to rent your place out to cover some of these costs. Some municipalities across Ontario, like Blue Mountains, Kawartha Lakes, and Bracebridge, are cracking down hard on short-term rentals. Some zones have banned them outright. Others required expensive registration and licensing. People can't sell, they can't rent, and they're bleeding money every single month. So now let's talk numbers for a second. In Muskoka, prices are down 10.4% year over year. Inventory levels more than doubled from 10.2 months of supply in Q1 to just over 21 months of inventory in Q1 of 2025. That's nearly 2 years of supply sitting on the market. Haliburton and Kawartha Lakes have seen waterfront property values drop by up to 25% since the peak. These are foundational cracks in the cottage market. People leveraged their primary homes to afford these properties, and now they're stuck with 2 mortgages. One they can't refinance, and one that they cannot sell. A couple in Bracebridge bought a 3-season cottage during COVID. HELOC funded. It required a ton of work. They planned to work from the lake for half of the year. Now they spend weekends dealing with black mold and broken plumbing. They're behind on their main mortgage, can't rent, can't sell, and all the peace of mind is completely gone. A retired teacher in the Kawarthas turned her cottage into an Airbnb. It worked until bylaws changed. Now she pays $1,300 a month just to keep the place sitting empty. Another family in Haliburton listed their cottage in fall of 2023 and nothing. Winter came and passed, spring came, and still no showings. They dropped the price by $75,000 and still no offers. Now their city home is up for renewal at double the interest rate. They told Global News, "We waited for the market to come back and it didn't." Cottage listings in Ontario are up nearly 40%, prices down 25%, HELOC debt at record highs, and we're seeing what experts are calling double housing stress, where Canadians with 2 properties are experiencing twice the anxiety, twice the debt, and none of the flexibility they thought they were buying. So what do you do if you're in this mess or in this situation? First, stop waiting for the market to magically bounce back, because folks, it won't. It won't be this year and likely not for many years to come. Not with the inventory rising rapidly, inflation and input costs constantly rising, and rates staying as high as they are. Let's not forget about Trump's tariffs that are constantly luring behind us. Second, talk to someone who knows the cottage country market. This isn't the same product as a home listing in the city. You need proper knowledge, proper strategies, and adequate marketing. Third, don't be ashamed to be in this situation. Selling isn't failure, it's protection. It's being smart before the bottom drops further. Possibly renting part-time, talking to your lenders, even, exploring co-ownership with family. But whatever you do, do it now and don't chase the market down. This isn't about cottages anymore. This is about urban housing next. Folks, if folks with money and equity are defaulting, what do you think will happen to people that are not so strongly financially? Now, if you're still watching, please hit the like button, drop a comment, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. This is not about creating fear. It's just about the facts. And the fact is the Canadian real estate market is changing rapidly. You need a plan, you need clarity, and you need someone who isn't afraid to say what others are not willing to say. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe if you're interested in more content like this, and have a wonderful day.